The blue lights pulsed against the rain-slick asphalt, throwing reflections on the shattered windshield. Dana Caldwell stood alone by her stalled car on the shoulder. One heel snapped, phone dying, the highway swallowing sound. She had called for help 40 minutes ago. When the cruiser finally pulled up, relief trembled in her chest, until she saw the officer's face. He didn't look at her, not really. His gaze skimmed over her suit, her badge lanyard, her dark skin glistening under the drizzle. "You, the one who called?" His tone was dry, almost bored. "Yes, my car just stepped back, ma'am." He circled the car like it was contaminated. She watched him, the tension crawling up her spine. She had prosecuted officers like him before, the ones who thought authority meant superiority. But this wasn't the courtroom. This was a lonely stretch of road with no witnesses. Her phone buzzed weakly, dying in her hand. "You're sure this is your car?" he asked, hand resting near his holster. Dana's throat went cold. "Excuse me," he shrugged. "You people get creative sometimes." Her breath hitched. "Officer, I'm an assistant federal prosecutor. Check the badge on my seat." He leaned in, read it, and smiled. Not with surprise, but contempt. "Then you should know better than to argue with law enforcement." The rain picked up, thunder rolling behind his words. She stared at him, her pulse in her ears. "Are you refusing to help me?" He closed her car door, slow, deliberate. "Not my problem if you're stranded." Then he turned, climbed into his cruiser, and drove away, his taillights fading into the storm. Dana stood frozen, drenched. As her reflection flickered in the broken glass, something inside her shifted quietly, irrevocably. Rain hissed across the empty stretch of highway like static through a bad connection. Dana's car sat half on the shoulder, half in the lane, hazard lights blinking in erratic rhythm. The wind pressed her coat against her legs, the wet fabric heavy and cold. She watched the last trace of the cruiser's taillights vanish into the storm. For a long moment, she couldn't move. Her throat burned with words she hadn't said. She wanted to scream after him, to record everything, to do what she told victims to do: document, protect, pursue. But the words felt small against the vastness of the rain. A semi roared by, sending a spray that soaked her completely. Her phone flickered. 2% battery. She slid into the driver's seat, hands trembling, trying to start the car again. The engine clicked, dead. She leaned back, staring through the cracked windshield. Her reflection looked foreign, hair plastered, eyes wide, face stripped of courtroom confidence. Headlights approached again. For a moment, her pulse spiked in fear. The cruiser returning, but it was an old pickup. The driver, a middle-aged man with a lined face, leaned out. "You okay, miss?" Dana hesitated. "Car broke down. Tow's taking forever." He nodded, wary but kind. "Got jumper cables. Mind if I try?" She swallowed hard. "Please." As he worked, she stood by, shivering. The truck's engine idled steady, an anchor in the storm. "Guy in the cruiser didn't stop?" he asked. "He stopped," she said quietly. "He just didn't help." The man looked up, confusion giving way to something darker. "Ain't right." "No," she said. "It's not." When the car finally started, she thanked him. He waved it off. "Be careful out here. Not everyone's decent." She drove home in silence. The radio was off, but echoes filled the car. The officers smirked. The hollow slam of her door. The way he said "you people." At her apartment, she peeled off her wet clothes, sat on the edge of the bed, and stared at her briefcase, full of tomorrow's case files on police accountability. Her hands clenched. She could almost hear the gavel from her last hearing, the promise of equal protection under the law. It sounded like fiction now. She picked up her recorder, hit note, and whispered, "Officer Cole, Highway 48, 9:17 p.m., refused assistance. Racial bias suspected." Her voice was steady, controlled, but as the recording ended, her reflection in the window broke, not from movement, but from the quiet shudder that came after. The prosecutor had become the plaintiff. And this time, she wasn't sure the system would listen. The morning sun crept through the blinds, sharp and clinical. Dana sat at her desk long before anyone else arrived. Her hair was pinned neatly, her navy suit pressed armor polished for battle. Only the faint redness around her eyes betrayed the night before. She opened her case file. United States versus Harmon PD. The irony wasn't lost on her. A case built around systemic misconduct, led by the same woman who'd been left stranded by an officer 12 hours ago. Her assistant, Mia, walked in with 2 coffees. "Rough night." Dana forced a small smile. "Just the usual prep." "Sure," Mia said, skeptical but kind. She hesitated. I saw the rain alerts. You get home okay? Fine, Dana replied quickly. Let's focus on discovery deadlines. She needed the rhythm, deadlines, motions, exhibits. Precision was a refuge. The language of the law was orderly, stripped of emotion. But beneath the surface, her mind replayed the officer's voice. That single, poisoned phrase, "You people," by 9 a.m. The office buzzed with chatter. Dana presented updates at the team meeting. Her tone measured. The room was mostly men, mostly white. When she spoke, their pens stilled, listening not for content, but tone. Her supervisor, Assistant U.S. Attorney Brigham, leaned back. Dana, your memo on qualified immunity reads ... passionate. She looked up. Passionate. He smiled thinly. We need objectivity here. Let the facts speak. They do, she said. You just have to listen. A quiet tension spread. Someone coughed. The meeting moved on. Later, in her office, Brigham appeared in the doorway. You've been leading the Harmon case for 6 months. Don't let personal experiences cloud your approach. She met his gaze. What experiences? He didn't answer, just nodded once and left. Her jaw tightened. So the rumor mill was already spinning. Someone had seen her car on the highway. Maybe the dispatcher logged the call before it disappeared. She didn't care. What unsettled her wasn't the gossip. It was how easily the narrative shifted from victimhood to compromise. At lunch, Dana sat alone in the cafeteria. Conversations hummed around her. 2 junior prosecutors nearby whispered about optics and reverse discrimination. One said, "Imagine being that sensitive. It's just bad luck, not racism." Her fork stilled midair. She left the table. In the elevator, she caught her reflection.com surface. Volatile core. The badge on her lanyard gleamed faintly, its metal catching the light like irony incarnate. Assistant federal prosecutor. She'd worked 12 years for it. Now it looked like a mask. Her phone buzzed. A message from her brother Malik. Heard something happened last night. You good? She typed, "I'm fine. Focus on your classes." Deleted it. Typed again. "Don't worry." Sent. He didn't reply. That evening, as the office emptied, Dana opened the federal reporting portal. She hovered over the file incident form. The cursor blinked. She filled in the details. Location, officer's behavior, refusal to assist. The drop-down menu for reason for belief of bias offered sterile options. Language used, disparate treatment, demeanor. She checked all 3. Then came the field labeled additional information optional. Her fingers paused. She wanted to write what it felt like, the silence after he drove off, the humiliation soaking into her bones, but the system didn't ask for feelings, just data. She wrote, "Officer refused assistance after confirming my federal identification. Remarks indicated racial bias." Before she hit submit, a hand landed on her doorframe. It was Brigham again. "Still here. Just finishing up," she said. He nodded, then glanced at her screen. The form glowed in blue light. His smile faded. "Dana, that's internal. It's personal," she said flatly. He exhaled. "Just be careful. You know how these things spiral. You'll be labeled difficult before you're heard." She met his eyes. "You mean before I'm believed?" He said nothing, just left her with the silence. She hit submit. The confirmation page appeared. Clean and impersonal. "Your report has been received." Dana sat back. The hum of fluorescent lights filled the room. Outside, the sky turned the same bruised color as last night's rain. She whispered to herself, not defiance, but recognition. They don't get to erase this. In the hallway, the janitor's cart rattled softly. Somewhere, a printer clicked. Life went on as if nothing had shifted. But Dana felt it. The system had blinked. However, briefly, and she wasn't done making it look again. By Monday morning, Dana's inbox was a minefield. No acknowledgement from Internal Affairs. No confirmation email. No case number. Just silence, the bureaucratic kind, calculated and suffocating. She tried the reporting portal again. Her submission history was blank. She refreshed, waited, nothing. Her jaw flexed. She'd built cases on paper trails, logs, timestamps, metadata, but this time, the trail ended before it began. At 9:04 a.m., she dialed the precinct's liaison line. "Public Integrity Division," a woman answered. "Yes, this is Assistant Federal Prosecutor Dana Caldwell. I filed a report regarding Officer Cole, refusal of assistance, potential bias." The woman interrupted, polite but robotic. "I'm not seeing any record of that complaint, ma'am." Dana's tone sharpened. "I submitted it through the federal reporting system. Timestamped Friday night. Check under my credentials. I've checked. No record. A pause. Rain tapped against her office window. Can you escalate this? Dana asked. I can forward your inquiry, but without a case ID, there's nothing to track. Dana stared at her screen, the blank confirmation box still open. Then make one. The woman hesitated. I'll do my best. The line clicked. Dead. Mia appeared at the doorway. You look like you want to set something on fire. Dana didn't look up. They erased it. The report? Yes. Mia closed the door behind her. You sure it's not a system delay? Dana turned her laptop so she could see. No ID, no log. It's gone. Mia's face changed. Disbelief, then understanding. You think someone deleted it? I think someone made sure it didn't exist. By noon, Dana was in the archives office of the precinct, badge clipped, tone measured. She requested call logs for Highway 48 between 8 o'clock and 10 p.m. the night of the incident. The desk clerk, a young man with careful politeness, typed into his system. After a moment, he frowned. That's odd. What is no record of a unit dispatched to that area? But Highway 48's feed was down that night. Some data's missing. Missing, Dana repeated. He nodded. Power outage. The report wasn't captured. She leaned in, voice low. Do you believe that? He met her eyes. Something flickered there. Sympathy, caution. Off the record. No. Things disappear all the time when they make someone look bad. Asterisk, she straightened. Do you know who was assigned to that sector? He hesitated. Sergeant Cole, Unit 2213. Then that's my answer. He glanced around, then slid her a folded paper. If you push this, they'll close ranks. Be careful who you copy on your emails. Dana unfolded it after he left a handwritten note. He's had complaints before. They vanished too. Back at her office, Dana opened her encrypted drive and began compiling call log requests. Screenshot of submission. TIMESTAMP. Recorded note from the night. Officer Cole's previous misconduct history. Buried in sealed memos. Every file she touched felt heavier. Her phone buzzed. A message from Brigham. Need you in my office. Now? He didn't look angry. He looked concerned, which was worse. I got a call from the precinct liaison. He began. They're claiming you're conducting an unsanctioned inquiry into an officer's behavior. I filed a bias complaint. That's not unsanctioned. He sighed. Dana, you can't mix personal and professional. You're prosecuting police misconduct already. This complicates things. It exposes things, she said sharply. If a federal prosecutor can't get a report processed, what chance does anyone else have? Brigham leaned forward. You're right. But there's a process. Let the Office of Civil Rights handle it. I did, she said. They deleted it. Silence. His eyes dropped to the desk. Then drop it. For your own good. Her pulse thudded. For my good, or for theirs. He didn't answer. That night, Dana sat in her living room, lights off, laptop glowing faintly. She replayed the recording of her voice from the night of the incident. Officer Cole, Highway 48, refused assistance. The voice sounded distant, detached. She barely recognized it. She opened a new document. At the top, she typed in bold, Project SEAL and CED. Then she began to write dates, times, patterns, a map of omission, a record the system couldn't erase this time. Her hands were steady. Her fear wasn't gone, but something colder had taken its place. Purpose. She whispered into the stillness. Not as comfort, but as fact. They buried it once. They won't bury me. The next morning began with the quiet kind of tension that fills an office before bad news spreads. Dana felt it the moment she stepped through security, the way conversations dipped as she passed, the way one agent nodded too quickly and another looked away. Someone had talked. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered, voice guarded. Caldwell? A low male voice replied, steady, cautious. You don't know me, but I know you filed a report about Sergeant Cole. Who is this? Doesn't matter. What matters is, he's protected. You're making noise where you shouldn't. She froze. Protected by who? The line clicked dead. By noon, rumors had evolved into whispers. One colleague mentioned career suicide. Another muttered internal affairs drama. Dana ignored them all and buried herself in her caseload, or tried to. Every document she opened blurred into the same line of thought. How deep does this go? At lunch, she called her contact in the Civil Rights Division. Marcus Hill, an old law school friend turned investigator. Marcus, I need you to pull disciplinary records for Sergeant Cole. Quietly, he sighed. Dana, what did you step in this time? Something that stinks. He paused. All right, give me an hour. By late afternoon, he called back. His voice was lower, tense. I found 4 previous complaints, all inconclusive. Inconclusive, she echoed. Yeah. Same phrasing, same timestamp pattern, same reviewer initials, meaning someone's cleaning his record. Dana felt her pulse harden. Send me what you have. I can't email it. I'll drop it off tonight. That evening, they met at a coffee shop downtown, far from the federal district. Rain streaked the windows again, just like the night she was stranded. Bafta slid an envelope across the table. Paper copies, no digital trail. Dana flipped through them. Every file was stamped closed, no action. Yet each narrative told the same story: intimidation, harassment, racial bias. She looked up. How is he still on the force? Marcus shook his head. Because Cole's father is deputy commissioner, retired now, but still connected. The guy's untouchable. Her stomach dropped. So the system protected him. Every time. Yeah, Marcus said. And if you keep digging, they'll protect him again from you. She leaned back. Rain reflected in her eyes. Then, I'll dig deeper. He sighed. That's what I was afraid of. Back at her apartment, Dana spread the files across her dining table. Photographs, reports, witness statements, the stories bled together. A black teenager falsely accused of theft. A Latina nurse pulled over without reason. A man beaten during a routine stop. Each complaint ended the same. No evidence of misconduct. She whispered, no evidence because you erased it. Her phone pinged an email from Brigham. Subject line, professional conduct reminder. Inside, Dana, I've been informed of your continued off-record inquiries. You are reminded that engaging external agencies without authorization violates department policy. Cease immediately. Asa Brigham. She read it twice, her hands trembling. Then she hit reply. Acknowledged. Noted for record. And nothing more. At dawn, she drove to the precinct unannounced. The air was thick with diesel and humidity. She walked past officers who watched her like an intruder in their house. The duty sergeant at the front desk didn't look up from his screen. Can I help you? Assistant Federal Prosecutor Caldwell. I need to speak with your commanding officer about complaint protocol. He smirked slightly. We're busy this morning. I'll wait. An hour passed, then another. Finally, Captain Reeves appeared. Sharp suit, smiled like cold glass. Ms. Caldwell, I hear you've been concerned about one of my men. I'm not concerned, she said. I'm documenting. He nodded slowly. I appreciate your passion, but Cole's record is clean. We've reviewed it thoroughly. I'm sure you have, she said, especially since the files were reviewed by the same internal officer who coached him for promotion. His smile faltered for a fraction of a second. Careful, counselor. Dana held his gaze. I don't do careful. I do evidence. He leaned in slightly. You keep pushing, and you'll find out this department doesn't like being embarrassed. Then stop giving it reasons to be. He said nothing, just turned, signaling the meeting was over. Outside, the air felt heavier. She unlocked her car and sat in silence. Her reflection in the rearview mirror looked composed, but her pulse drummed in her ears. Her phone buzzed. A message from Marcus. One more thing. Word is, the union's been warned about you. Watch your back. She typed a reply, but stopped halfway. Her hand hovered, then lowered. She looked out at the precinct's flag waving in the wind, crisp, polished, and hollow. The whispers weren't whispers anymore. They were strategy, and she'd just become the target. The first article appeared quietly, buried mid-scroll on a local news site. Federal prosecutor raises concerns over police bias reporting failures. No name, no photo, just a shadow of her voice. Quoted anonymously. By noon, it had been shared across legal blogs and activist circles. By 5, reporters were calling the office switchboard asking for comment. Dana sat at her desk, phone muted, expression still. She hadn't expected the journalist to move so fast. She also hadn't expected the walls to close in this quickly. The first to appear in her doorway was Brigham. No knock, no greeting. You leaked this. I didn't. Don't lie to me, Dana. I said nothing on record. He crossed his arms. You think semantics will save you. You've turned an internal matter into a public scandal. She met his stare, unblinking. It was already a scandal. I just stopped pretending it wasn't. Brigham's jaw tightened. The U.S. attorney is furious. You've made enemies you can't afford. Then maybe they shouldn't have deleted federal evidence. He leaned in, voice sharp. You're not invincible, Caldwell. Remember that. When he left, The silence felt like a verdict. At 6 p.m., the news cycle exploded. The journalist had gone national, attaching her name this time. Assistant federal prosecutor alleges systemic cover-up in police misconduct cases. Dana's photo, lifted from a conference site, was now plastered across social feeds. Her phone buzzed nonstop. Reporters, old colleagues, activists, family. She ignored them all until Marcus called. "You're trending," he said flatly. "Wonderful. Listen, you hit a nerve. I just got word the precincts union's preparing a formal response. They're calling it baseless defamation." "Of course they are." "And Brigham's office, they're prepping a statement too. Guess what it says?" She exhaled. "That they take allegations seriously but can't comment on ongoing investigations, word for word." She laughed once, sharp, humorless. "They're faster at covering themselves than covering victims." "Dana, this isn't a win yet. They'll come for your credibility, hard." "I know," she said quietly. "That's why I'm making it impossible to erase." That night, she sat in her apartment surrounded by documents, phone calls, evidence boards taped to the wall. Screens glowed in the dark, dispatch logs, body cam timestamps, snippets of officer rosters. Every piece connected to Cole, but every path ended in bureaucratic fog. She needed something undeniable. Her laptop chimed, an encrypted message from an unknown source. Subject: "You don't know me, but I know what he did." Inside was a single link and a line of text. Body cam footage. Highway 48, unreleased. She froze. The link led to a cloud drive. She hesitated only a second before clicking. The footage loaded. Grainy, rain-slicked night. The dashboard view of Cole's cruiser, her car visible on the shoulder. Cole stepping out. Then his voice, clear through the static. "You people get creative sometimes." Dana's stomach turned. "Officer, I'm a federal, not my problem if you're stranded." Then he laughed. That same low, dismissive sound that had burned itself into her memory. The video ended with his cruiser pulling away. She sat still for a long time, then she opened her encrypted folder and saved it under Exhibit A. By morning, the footage had reached the journalist. She hadn't sent it, but someone had. The story updated hourly, headlines growing bolder. Leaked body cam footage shows officer abandoning black woman on Highway E. The department scrambled. The mayor's office issued a statement. The union condemned the unauthorized leak. Cole was placed on administrative leave. At the office, eyes followed Dana like searchlights. She moved through the corridors, in silence, every footstep echoing judgment. When she reached her desk, her computer screen displayed an email flagged urgent. Subject: Federal Inquiry Notification. Assistant Prosecutor Caldwell. "You are under review for potential violation of media policy and unauthorized disclosure of investigative materials. Office of Professional Responsibility." She stared at it until her vision blurred. Then she whispered to herself, "Of course." Mia found her minutes later, pale and anxious. "They're saying you leaked the footage." "I didn't. They don't care." Dana looked out the window, city lights blurring in motion. "Then I'll give them something real to care about." That evening, Marcus called again. "Cole's lawyer is on TV saying the footage was taken out of context. They're painting him as the victim." "Then I'll show them the context." "Meaning what?" "I'm filing a motion for evidence preservation, and I'm naming the department." Dana, but she'd already hung up. She drafted the motion with clinical precision, citing obstruction, data tampering, and suppression of public records. Every line was a blade. When she hit send, she knew there was no going back. Outside, the night buzzed with sirens and static, the city reacting, resisting. Dana leaned back, exhaustion settling into her bones. For the first time, she allowed herself to feel the full weight of what she'd done. This wasn't about one officer anymore. It was about a system built to erase truth. And for the first time in years, she was done playing by its rules. By sunrise, the motion had detonated across the network. Every inbox in the district office carried her name. Every whisper in the hall carried her consequence. Dana arrived at work through the service entrance. Reporters camped at the front. Someone had leaked her internal memo. Again, Mia met her in the stairwell, clutching a coffee that had long gone cold. "They're assembling an emergency meeting upstairs." "Who's they?" "Brigham, Internal Affairs, to DOJ reps, and a PR lawyer." Dana nodded once. "Perfect." She entered the conference room without knocking. The table was full. Everyone stopped talking. Brigham gestured to the seat at the end. "Sit." She remained standing. He sighed. "Miss Caldwell, you've created a national security mess. Your motion was filed without clearance. It implicated local law enforcement, the mayor's office, and the truth. She interrupted. He continued as if she hadn't spoken. We've been contacted by the Deputy Attorney General. They want your suspension pending review. Mia flinched. Dana didn't. For exposing misconduct, for breaching internal procedure that protected criminals, she said flatly. Brigham leaned forward. Don't make this personal. It is personal, she said. A cop left me on a highway because of my skin, and the system helped him hide it. The room froze. The DOJ rep finally spoke. We sympathize, Ms. Caldwell, but this isn't how justice works. She met his eyes. Then maybe justice doesn't work. Silence. Brigham dismissed the meeting. You're on administrative leave, effective immediately. Badge and clearance now. She placed both on the table. Steady hands, steady gaze. When this is over, you'll wish you hadn't. Outside the building, microphones waited like vultures. Miss Caldwell, is it true you leaked the footage? Are you facing termination? Do you stand by your allegations? She walked past them, silent, head high. By nightfall, the headlines had turned. Federal prosecutor suspended amid racism probe. The narrative was shifting from truth to scandal, from evidence to optics. At home, she sat in the dark, laptop open, notifications endless. Marcus called. They're burying you. I know. They're controlling the story. You're the angry whistleblower. Then we changed the story. He hesitated. How? Through the courts. You're suspended. I don't need the title to file a motion as a citizen. Truth still counts, even when you're unemployed. He exhaled. You're playing with fire. I'm already burned. Midnight. Another encrypted message. No sender. Just one line. He's done this before. Attached to police reports. Identical handwriting. Different victims, both listed Officer Cole, both lost in transfer. Her throat tightened. Pattern. She cross-referenced the reports with the body cam ID. Each matched an erased file. TIMESTAMP. She began compiling timestamps, case IDs, department logs. The wall in her apartment now looked like an investigation room. Strings connecting crimes to silence. By morning, her inbox filled again, this time from unknown addresses. My brother filed a complaint. They buried it. He did the same to me last year. Please keep fighting. Each message heavier than the last. Mia texted her a photo. Protesters outside the precinct holding signs. Justice for the forgotten. We believe her. The story had escaped containment. By noon, Cole appeared on TV for an exclusive interview. Pressed suit. Measured tone. I've dedicated 15 years to protecting this community, he said. I regret that my actions were misinterpreted. I never abandoned anyone. My dashcam malfunctioned. This has been blown out of proportion by individuals seeking attention. Dana stared at the screen, jaw locked. The reporter asked, Do you know Assistant Prosecutor Caldwell? He smiled faintly. We met briefly. I wish her well. I hope she finds peace. She closed the laptop, pulse steady, the calm before a storm. Marcus arrived that evening. You need protection. You've humiliated powerful people. I don't need protection. I need evidence to survive their version of truth. He dropped a folder on her desk. Then here, anonymous internal affairs logs unread. Cole's disciplinary record was scrubbed clean 3 times. These are the originals. She opened it. Inside, a note written in block letters. You didn't hear this from me. She scanned the first page, dated 2 years before her incident. Complaint. Neglect of duty, verbal abuse, targeting civilian based on race, outcome, insufficient evidence, no action taken. The next page, and the next, dozens of them. Her voice was low. They've protected him for years. Marcus nodded. And now they'll try to protect themselves. That night, she sent a message to the journalist. Final package. Publish everything. Don't redact. Don't soften. Let it burn. Then, she unplugged her phone, closed the laptop, and sat in silence. Outside, thunder rolled, or maybe it was the crowd gathering downtown by dawn. The Nation had a new headline. Federal officers' pattern of racism exposed. DOJ accused of suppression. The city erupted. Protests, press conferences, resignations. The mayor called for a federal inquiry. Cole's name was now synonymous with corruption, and Dana Caldwell, suspended, vilified, unrepentant, became the face of something no one could unsee. But she knew this wasn't victory. It was exposure. Exposure was only step 1. The city cracked overnight. Cole's precinct went under investigation. Brigham resigned for personal reasons. News anchors dissected every second of the highway footage, every memo Dana had filed, every line she had written. Yet, in the middle of the noise, she sat in her apartment, curtains drawn, lights off, listening to the hum of her refrigerator and the echo of her own decision. Mia called first. They're throwing each other under the bus. Internal Affairs leaked Cole's deleted reports. They're saying Brigham ordered them to disappear. Dana's voice was flat. And now they'll blame the system instead of themselves. Are you okay? I'm functional. People are calling you a hero. She didn't respond. Across town, Cole stood in front of the same cameras he once controlled. The press lights glared. His jaw twitched under the weight of exposure. A reporter shouted, "Do you deny the pattern of misconduct, Officer Cole?" He hesitated too long. That pause played on every channel within the hour. By noon, a Senate subcommittee had called for testimony. The Department of Justice must account for its failures, the chairman declared. They summoned Dana. The subpoena arrived that evening crisp. Clinical, she stared at it for a full minute before whispering, "They finally want the truth, but only after it costs me everything." Marcus came over with takeout and quiet concern. "You should celebrate. You exposed them." She shook her head. "No, I forced them to look. There's a difference." 2 days later, she walked into the Capitol hearing room. Rows of cameras, a semicircle of power pretending to seek justice. The chairwoman smiled, a politician's smile. "Miss Caldwell, thank you for your courage. Please state your name and occupation for the record." She met the gaze without blinking. "Dana Caldwell, former Assistant Federal Prosecutor, Department of Justice." A rustle of discomfort followed the word former. The first question came sharp. "When did you become aware of Officer Cole's history?" "When the system let him hurt someone and erase the proof. And that person was you." "Yes. And you believe your agency participated in a cover-up?" "I don't believe. I have proof." Murmurs rippled through the room. She laid down the folder, dates, signatures, TIMESTAMPS. Each page hit the wood like a gavel. The cameras zoomed in on her hands, steady, unflinching. Outside, the crowd watched from giant screens. Protest signs swayed. "Accountability now. Justice isn't optional." Mia texted from the sidewalk. "You're rewriting the record in real time." Dana didn't reply. She wasn't thinking about victory, only survival. By evening, Cole was arrested on obstruction charges. Internal Affairs officers escorted him out of his home, flanked by flashing lights and shouting reporters. "Do you have anything to say?" one yelled. He turned once, his face gray. "They made me do it." The footage played side by side with Dana's testimony. The nation watched, cause and consequence aligned. The next morning, her phone buzzed nonstop. Offers for interviews, podcasts, books. She deleted them all. When Mia called again, Dana answered. "You disappeared. I'm tired of talking." "You changed everything." "Dana, no." I reminded them of what they already knew. A long silence. Mia said softly, "So what now?" Dana looked out the window. Rain streaked the glass like ink running from truth. "Now I rest." But the world didn't rest. A week later, the DOJ issued a public apology. The mayor resigned. A new oversight committee formed. Cole's name became a case study in corruption. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that something essential had been taken. Not her job, not her reputation, but her trust in the system she'd once defended. She walked through the courthouse one last time. An empty visitor now. The marble echoed her steps. Outside the main entrance, a reporter spotted her. "Ms. Caldwell, what does justice look like to you now?" She paused at the top of the stairs. Rainlight caught her face. "Justice," she said quietly, "isn't a verdict. It's a memory that refuses to fade." Then she walked away. Later that night, she stood alone at the same stretch of highway where it began. Wind pressing against her coat, the distant hum of traffic. In the dark, she whispered, "You didn't win." A single car slowed behind her. This time, the driver rolled down the window. "You all right, ma'am?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Yes." Finally, the car drove off. The taillights faded. For the first time in months, the silence didn't feel like danger. It felt like release. 6 months later, the hearings had ended, but the echoes hadn't. Every documentary, every protest chant still carried fragments of her name. Dana Caldwell, the woman who exposed the department. Dana Caldwell, the prosecutor turned whistleblower. Dana Caldwell, the one who wouldn't stay quiet. But the noise had faded into distance now, replaced by something quieter, a life rebuilt in fragments. The new city was smaller, quieter. She rented a one-bedroom apartment above a bookstore, taught legal ethics at a community college, and kept her face out of the papers. Students whispered sometimes, realizing who she was. Is that her, the Dana Caldwell? She never confirmed that she spent her mornings in the classroom, her evenings reading case files she no longer had to argue. Still, every time a siren passed outside, her pulse jumped. Not from fear, but from memory. One evening, Mia visited. She brought a folder, thinner than the ones before. You said you were done, Dana said without looking up. I am, Mia replied, but I thought you'd want to see this. Inside was a printed headline: Former Officer Cole sentenced to 12 years in federal prison for obstruction and tampering. Dana read it once, then again. Her fingers didn't tremble, but her throat did. Justice, she said softly, as if testing the word for cracks. Mia nodded. Not perfect, but it's something. Dana closed the folder. It's consequence. That's enough. Later that night, she walked to the bookstore below her apartment. The owner, a retired teacher, nodded as she entered. Got a delivery for you, he said, sliding a brown package across the counter. No return address, just her name. Inside was a handwritten letter. You don't know me. My name's Jordan. My brother was one of the ones Cole stopped years ago. We tried to file a report. It disappeared. I saw your story. I just wanted to say, you made them remember him. That's something no one ever did before. Thank you. Below the note was a single photo, a young man smiling, in a graduation cap. Dana folded the paper slowly, like something fragile. The next week, she was invited to speak at a local civil rights forum. She almost refused. Then, at the last minute, she went. The room was packed. Students, lawyers, activists, people who looked both weary and awake. The moderator introduced her, Dana Caldwell, former federal prosecutor, now advocate for systemic accountability. When she stepped up to the mic, she didn't prepare a speech, she just spoke. I used to think justice lived in buildings, she said, in courtrooms, in titles, in laws. I learned that it doesn't. Justice lives in people who refuse to stop remembering. The system breaks, but memory doesn't. The room was silent. She looked out over the crowd, a mix of faces, all watching, all waiting. And that's why I'm here. She finished quietly, not to remind you of what I lost, but to remind you what still matters. When she stepped down, no one clapped at first. Then the sound rose, not applause, but agreement. Outside, the night air felt lighter. Marcus met her at the exit. You sounded like you believed every word. I did. He smiled. You ever think about going back? She glanced at him. To the department, to the fight. She exhaled slowly. I never left it. Months passed. The nation moved on to other stories, new scandals, new names, but Dana's case became part of the curriculum, a symbol cited in law reviews and training modules. Some called her reckless, others called her necessary. She didn't care for either. One morning, she received an envelope from the Office of the Inspector General. It contained a formal letter of acknowledgement. Your evidence directly contributed to the exposure of systemic misconduct. Your record has been reinstated, and your suspension rescinded. At the bottom, her reinstatement certificate. She stared at it, unmoving, then placed it in a drawer. Some doors, once walked through, don't lead back. That evening, she visited her father's grave in Maryland. It was raining thin, cold, quiet. She knelt, tracing his name on the headstone. Dad. They finally listened. The wind carried her words like confession. I thought winning would feel like peace, she whispered, but it just feels like work that isn't done. A pause. Then, softly, you'd probably tell me that's the point. She stood, brushing rain from her coat. The sky cracked open with a low roll of thunder. Somewhere far off, sirens wailed again, but this time they sounded like warning for someone else. When she got home, the evening news was on in the background. A new case, a new name, another headline about injustice. Dana turned the volume down, opened her laptop, began typing. The screen glowed against her face, the start of a report. Not for herself, but for others. Her fingers moved steadily. Words now, not silence. In the corner of her apartment, the reinstatement certificate remained unopened. She didn't need it. The justice she'd fought for wasn't inside a frame. It was alive, breathing, unfinished. Outside, the night deepened over the city, quiet, unassuming. A single streetlight flickered near the window, its glow soft and constant, and for the first time in a long time, Dana Caldwell allowed herself to sleep without keeping the lights on.